One of the reasons the Canadian government is more progressive in general, one of the reasons they have health care for every single Canadian right now, today, is that they have the new Democratic Party in Canada. And that party is now led by Jack Layton. Jack was a progressive government leader in Toronto. He runs an award-winning green business. And if the progressive winds that are blowing in the U.S. also catch on in Canada, Jack Layton could be Canada's next Prime Minister. To give us his greetings, please welcome NDP leader Jack Layton.
Well, thank you very much, Roger, and dear friends, sisters and brothers. It's a thrill and an honor for me to be here with all of you. I'm really here to speak about one of the areas where we must work together, and it has to do with the growing gap which is occurring in our societies as a result of the way we are structuring, and I say we, I really mean they, are restructuring our trade and economic relationships in a fashion that is fundamentally unfair, that is leaving millions and millions of people behind, that is not sustainable, and that ultimately benefits the very, very few and the multinational corporate interests that promote this kind of trade. An example, of course, is NAFTA, which has reached the news headlines recently. But NAFTA is only important because it actually represents a structure of trading relationships which is now being trumpeted as the way in which the world economy should be permitted to develop. And I simply want to say we must not let it develop in that fashion. We must let it develop for working people who make up the economy, no matter what country we're talking about. Let me tell you that in Canada, people are working longer and harder each and every day. A study was done by one of our progressive economic groups, very similar to the groups that have put this organization together over your years of successful meeting. We found that Canadians are, and the average Canadian family is working 250 hours more per year, the equivalent of 5 additional full-time weeks of work, and yet they're not earning any more money. In fact, in many cases, they're slipping backwards. They're having less time with their family. They're more stressed. They have second and third jobs. They can't pay the rent at the end of the month. They're using their credit cards to pay their mortgages, and they are feeling left out of the so-called economic boom that characterized recent years in our country. Now, this is unfair and wrong, because it's their hard work that builds the economy and allows the profits such as they are to be achieved by our banks and our oil companies. Nearly 2/3 of Canadians, when you ask them, will tell you we're not benefiting by what's going on in the economy today. In fact, our families are finding it tougher and tougher, and half of Canadians today will tell you that they think they're 1 or 2 paychecks away from not being able to pay the rent or the mortgage. And that, for any family, is called living on the edge, and it shouldn't be happening. But I have to say that the recent controversy about NAFTA certainly has us concerned, but I want to say to Senators Obama and Clinton, we are pleased that you raised the issue of the need to reform those trade deals, to make them more fair, to establish labor standards that really work, to establish environmental standards that really work. And you have Canadians on your side and ready to work with you as we reach across the border to build fair and sustainable trade.